Hello and welcome to BYJU'S Exam Prep IAS. Before we start with our today's analysis, we have an announcement. BYJU'S Exam Prep IAS is happy to announce the launch of new initiative Target Means 2022. This program will be exclusively available on our BYJU'S Exam Prep application. All that you have to do is download the application and you would be able to watch Target Means 2022, which is scheduled to be conducted from June 13th every day up till your mains examination from 7:30 p.m. up until 9 p.m. But remember, this is exclusively available on our BYJU'S Exam Prep application. And what is the agenda of this program? All the important topics from your mains perspective will be covered as part of this initiative. This happens to be a free initiative on our BYJU'S Exam Prep application for the next 3 months with respect to the mains related examination. Let's get started and look into the first article. The first article says, what are SEBI's concern around crypto assets? Let us try and understand what is this topic all about. First, let us have a brief idea with respect to this authority. The Securities and Exchange Board of India is owned by the Government of India. It was established on 12th of April 1992 under the Securities and Exchange Board of India Act of 1992 to protect the interests of the investors in security along with promoting and regulating the security market. So remember, this happens to be a statutory body. A statutory body is one which is passed with the help of the law initiated by the Parliament. This is headquartered in Mumbai. The Security and Exchange Board of India has 4 regional offices located in Ahmedabad, Chennai, Delhi and Kolkata. What are the functions of this authority? When we speak about SEBI, SEBI has the power to regulate the following branches: depositories, participants and custodians, debentures, trustees and trustees, insider trading, FIIs, merchant bankers and mutual funds, portfolio managers, investment advisors, registrar to capital issues and share transfer agents, stock broker, sub brokers, underwriters, bankers to the issue and venture capital funds, and substantial acquisition of shares and takeover are all under the control of SEBI. Why are we discussing about it? That is because recently we had the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Finance which interacted with SEBI. The SEBI was asked a question, what is your opinion about the crypto assets? So SEBI in this particular backdrop has said that regulation of the crypto assets would be difficult given the way it operates and the technological advancement. So because it works on the decentralized system, because what it works is on the blockchain technology, we would not be able to regulate efficiently, says SEBI to the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Finance. It was also reported that the Reserve Bank of India also had a similar viewpoint about the crypto assets and worried that it may not be able to regulate the crypto assets in the market. It is in this particular backdrop we have to understand what has SEBI said with respect to the crypto assets. When it comes to SEBI, SEBI has essentially flagged problems with respect to regulating assets because they are maintained in decentralized distributed ledgers which are nested in computer nodes spread all across the globe. What exactly happens? Let's say for example, if you are speaking about an economic system, the economic system requires what is called as the monetary instrument. In India, we have the monetary instrument, let's say for example the currency notes, or you speak about the checks, or you speak about the coins. These are regulated by the Government of India and the Reserve Bank of India as well. If we speak about the security, what we have is the SEBI which takes care of the security parameters as well. But if we are speaking about the crypto assets, the main problem with respect to the crypto assets is you do not have one single authority which is regulating the crypto assets. As a result, what you have is there can be some tax evasion, there can be other issues, illegal trade that may happen on these crypto assets, which is why you have SEBI which is apprehensive because the technology is in such a way that you do not have one single authority which is able to control this crypto assets, but instead it is decentralized. The technology is such that it is completely decentralized across the world and they would not be able to regulate the crypto assets. So the crypto assets is a general term and this can broadly be categorized further into what is called as the cryptocurrencies. Then what we have is utility tokens, and finally what we have have is the non-fungible tokens. So we have the crypto assets. These crypto assets can be further bifurcated into three parts. What are these three parts? First is the cryptocurrency. We have all heard of the bitcoins. We have all heard of ethereums as well. These are the coins where you would be able to buy on the crypto exchanges. Let's say for example CoinDCX, WASIS, so on and so forth, and ultimately you would be able to keep a stock of these bitcoins or ethereum, and ultimately you would also be able to make transactions. So we have the cryptocurrency. Then what we have is the utility tokens, which provide a certain utility within an ecosystem. And finally what we have is the non-fungible tokens, which establish ownership of unique items among others. These are the three types of crypto assets, and the problem that SEBI points out is regulating all these crypto assets. The underlying technology for the crypto assets is the same: distributed ledgers that aren't controlled by any one single authority, single entity, becomes tough to regulate, and as a result SEBI has voiced its concern. So what are the recommendations given by SEBI? SEBI has understood that this happens to be a decentralized system where technology is not controlled by one single authority, but it is decentralized and controlled by multiple authorities world over. There is not single authority. So what does it say? The SEBI, being the custodian of the security market, has to take care of the customers, so it has come up with the recommendation. The first is in reference to the crypto exchanges. What are these crypto exchanges? If you are speaking about the stock market, what you have is a broker. Let's say for example you have number of brokers like the Angel One, you have Grow, then you have Zerodha, so on and so forth. Where would you buy these stocks? You would be able to buy these stocks from these stock brokers. So you would be able to pay and you would be able to procure that particular share of that company. Similarly, you also have the crypto exchanges as well. For example, you have the CoinDCX, you also have WazirX, so on and so forth. In these crypto exchanges, what we have to do is first regulate the crypto exchanges, since in the past RBI has been able to implement some of the know your customer guidelines, anti-money laundering rules, combating of financing of terrorism norms. This particular authority or viewing of the crypto exchanges should be given to the Reserve Bank of India, says SEBI, because the Reserve Bank of India in the past has been able to regulate and implement all the guidelines. So when it comes to the crypto exchanges, what you should be able to do, these crypto exchanges will have to be regulated, monitored, and this should be done by the Reserve Bank of India, says SEBI. Then the next goal that the SEBI sets itself is on the subscribers or the customers of the crypto assets. In case these people have a problem, they have to put out their grievance. In case they have an issue, they have to get this particular issue fixed. So this article currently goes on to say, according to SEBI, it goes on to make a recommendation that it has suggested that the Consumer Protection Act of 2019 may be invoked in order to protect the interests of the subscribers or the customers of the crypto assets. The third area that SEBI is looking at is in reference to the clarification. SEBI has said that crypto assets are not part of the definition of what constitutes as securities under the Security Contracts Regulation Act of 1956, also known as the SCRA. So basically, since we do not have a clear-cut description of what these crypto assets are, which has to be ultimately regulated, this is also not present under the Security Contracts Regulation Act of 1956. It leads to a clumsy area, abstract area. So this has to be defined, this has to be well regulated, says SEBI. Added to it, given the crypto products are unregulated, prominent public figures including celebrities, sportsmen, etc., or their voice shall not be used for endorsement, advertisement of the crypto products, says SEBI recommendation. We have number of celebrities where I do not want to name these celebrities, but you have them acting as the brand ambassador representing one of these exchanges, and ultimately they are promoting these crypto assets. As a result, SEBI has come up with a recommendation that because people may be influenced by such celebrities and sportsmen, they should be barred from taking active participation in the promotion or advertisement of such crypto assets, says SEBI. And finally, we have the Reserve Bank of India, which says that cryptocurrencies can lead to dollarization of a part of the economy. So the Reserve Bank of India also has an apprehension and fear as well. Most of the cryptocurrencies that we have are regulated, or most of the transaction happens on dollar. The Reserve Bank of India, being the central authority, would not be able to regulate. That is why we have the Reserve Bank of India, which says that in this particular backdrop, if more transaction happens on the crypto assets, they may evade the official scrutiny. We do not know whether they would be able to pay the taxes or not. We do not know one single authority regulating them, and as a result, it may fuel the illegal trade, bypass and weaken the monetary system, and as a result, we have to keep a close check on these cryptocurrencies, says the Reserve Bank of India. In fact, there was also a circular given by the Reserve Bank of India barring banks from dealing with such currencies, but the Supreme Court of India came up with a particular order and ultimately striked it down as well. So there is a lot of ambiguity when it comes to the control of cryptocurrencies. Not only this, there is a lot of dilemma and confusion when it comes to the crypto assets as well. The government notifications have also been quite confusing as well. At times it thinks of banning these crypto assets, and at times it wants to allow the technology to progress. So there is a lot of ambiguity and confusion even with respect to the government notifications. But we also have the government which recently said that it wants to impose 30% of the taxation with respect to all these cryptocurrencies. And at the same time, we also have Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharamanji, who in an interview indicated that taxability was an issue that is not to be linked to legitimacy, says the Finance Minister. So there is no clarity with respect to the cryptocurrencies. So going forward, since we have a parliamentary committee looking into this financial goals with respect to technology as well as with respect to crypto assets, everything has to be settled once and for all so that people do not have any sufferings in the near future. So the government of India should make sure that all the abstractness, confusion and dilemma that we have with respect to cryptocurrencies is ultimately settled in the near future. It is this that we have to understand with respect to this article. Now let's look into the next article. This article says new norms for celebrity endorsements. We all know that it is no secret that whenever we speak about advertisement, whenever people speak about buying a particular product, they mostly rely on these ads. So if you are speaking about one of the energy drink, you might have your favorite celebrity or your sportsman advertising for that particular product. So you might be influenced by that particular celebrity, and ultimately you go about buying that particular product as well. So most of these advertisements basically bank on the celebrities. Either it can be a sportsman, or it can be a Bollywood celebrity, or it can be any regional celebrity as well. So what are we speaking about? We are speaking about ads given by celebrities which at times may be not right, and it might be misleading as well, and ultimately it is the customer who is bound to suffer. So in order to overcome this particular issue, we have the government of India which has issued guidelines on prevention of misleading advertisements and endorsements for misleading advertisements 2022. When we look into some of the statistics and the studies that have been conducted in the past, a study in 2019 assessed and analyzed the effect of advertisements on various dimensions of consumer behavior awareness, interest, conviction, purchase and post-purchase behavior, concluded that TV and internet advertisements are affecting awareness, intention and conviction stages of the consumer behavior. Magazines are more effective in influencing the purchase and post-purchase stages, and newspapers are the only medium which affected all stages of consumer behavior. In fact, there was another study as well which said that at least 2 in 3 or 70% respondents said they had come across misleading ads in the last 24 months amid the COVID-19 pandemic. So advertisement is good. That is a marketing strategy. That is how a product has to be sold. But if that particular product does not give the right information, and the consumer happens to buy this particular product, and ultimately if he is not happy with that particular product and not meeting the intended standards because he has been misled, this means there have been grievances and ultimately this has to be settled. So we now have the Government of India which has introduced these new guidelines, and they have been notified under the Consumer Protection Act, which lays the rules for the celebrity endorsements. Let us try and understand what are the key features when it comes to these guidelines. The article here speaks about two important types of advertisements. One is what is called as the bait advertisement. The second is what is called as the surrogate advertisement. What is this bait advertisement? This means an advertisement in which goods, products or services is offered for sale at a low price to attract the consumers. What do we mean by it? Let's say for example an iPhone. An iPhone, let's say hypothetically, costs about 50,000, but then all of a sudden you have the Apple company which comes up with an ad and says that this will not be costing 50,000, this will be costing 25,000. So what will people do? They will immediately rush to that particular outlet and they may buy this particular product as well. Why? Because this has become cheaper. So a bait advertisement is where that particular company promotes offers such as half price or special offer so that this particular product is sold at a cheaper price. That is what is called as bait advertisement. So the product cost would be exorbitant, and during this particular limited period that company may come up with a half price offer or a special offer whereby that product becomes comparatively cheaper. So according to the guidelines released by the Government of India, it says that whenever such notifications or ads are given by that particular company, they have to ensure that there is adequate supply of goods, products or services to meet the demand that may come up within that particular advertisement. In case they are not able to meet up to the demand and they for sure know that there will be more demand but they have very limited supply, in that particular case they also have to give a disclaimer. They also have to say that the stocks are limited, so they have to ensure that this particular parameter is also put up in the advertisement. Then we have surrogate advertisement, which refers to an advertisement for products or services whose advertising is otherwise prohibited or restricted by the law. So the surrogate advertisements have been completely prohibited and fresh rules governs ads involving children as well as the children products. So when we speak about children products, an advertisement which showcases something like the junk foods or chips or carbonated beverages or any other snacks and drinks shall not be advertised during a particular program which is only meant for the children. Let's say for example a child is watching one of the programs, let's say this is to do with a cartoon or any of the programs. During this particular program, these advertising agencies are not supposed to advertise anything to do with junk foods, chips, carbonated beverages, so on and so forth. Then we have the endorsers who also have to make material connection disclosures, and failing to do so will also attract penalty under the Consumer Protection Act. What are these material disclosures? These are the disclosures that have to be made by that particular company about the credibility of the endorsement, which that consumer may not know, may not expect from that particular product. Then we also have something called as the disclaimer. What is a disclaimer? Let's say for example we have one of the mutual fund product or the service that is released in the market. You might have multiple advertisement that comes up in your TV ads as well. So they say you that if you start investing about 5,000 or 10,000 every month, you would also have a growth rate of about 12% and you would be able to achieve your financial goals after a considerable period of time. They do speak about all these growth factors as well, but ultimately they also put out another disclaimer which says that this growth factor is also subject to what is happening in the market. So the risk factors, all investments in mutual funds and securities are subject to market risk, and the NAV of funds may go up or down depending on the factors and forces affecting the security markets. So this disclaimer basically means that it is not only about the growth factors, but it is also about those factors which are not under our control, which is nothing but the market forces. So what has the guidelines spoken about the disclaimer? The disclaimer guidelines clearly goes on to say that the guideline stipulates the disclaimer should should not attempt to hide any material information with respect to any claim made in such advertisements. Added to it, the disclaimer will also have to be at speed with the rest of the advertisement. What do we mean by it? Whenever they are speaking about a particular service, their ad would be very good. They would impress you that so and so would be the growth rate. It will be 15%, 18%, 20%, depending on the riskability of that particular person. But when it comes to disclaimer, their wordings will be comparatively fast. Mutual funds are subject to market risk. Please read the offer document, so on and so forth. So when they are projecting their service, it will be smooth, but when they are giving the disclaimer, it will be comparatively faster. So the guidelines go on to say whatever page was the advertisement, the disclaimer page will also have to be same, says the disclaimer guidelines. It also provides that the disclaimer should be in the same language as the claim made. If they are projecting an ad in one of the languages, the disclaimer should also be in the same language. If the claim is in terms of Hindi or Tamil or Kannada or any other language, the same disclaimer will have to be in the same language. These are some of the guidelines with respect to the disclaimer. What about the applicability? The guidelines issued under the Consumer Protection Act of 2019 also bars Indian citizens living abroad from endorsing such advertisements that have been barred for the Indian professionals living in the country. So it is just not about citizens and Indian people living in the country, but if there is an Indian who is not in India currently but living elsewhere in another country, even they are not supposed to advertise if it is barred for the Indians who are in the country. The guidelines will be applicable to advertisements published on all platforms like print, television and online. This is for all type of platforms, which is print, that is the newspaper and the magazines, the television, news channels and all other channels, and at the same time online as well, where you are making use of YouTube, Facebook, so on and so forth. These guidelines will apply to government advertisements issued by PSUs engaged in providing consumer services. This is not just restricted to the private entities and companies and organizations. This is equally applicable for the government agencies in case they are providing any of the services to the customers. The advertising guidelines for self-regulation issued by the Advertising Standards Council of India will also be in parallel manner. What do we understand by this? The government already has come up with its own guidelines. We also have the Advertising Standards Council of India, which also has its own set of guidelines as well. So what we have is the government guidelines, and what we will also have is the Advertising Standard Council of India's guidelines. Both will work together simultaneously is another recommendation. Now in case there is a particular company and it does not pay heed to it, and if the celebrities do not pay heed to it, then in that case violation of these guidelines will attract a penalty of 10 lakh for the first time when an offence is committed and 50 lakh for the subsequent offence under the CPA. The authority can also prohibit the endorser of a misleading advertisement from making any endorsement for up to 1 year, and for subsequent contravention, prohibition can go up to 3 years as well. These are some of the guidelines given as per the recent update. What is the significance of these guidelines? The guidelines aim to protect the consumers. They will also take care of the consumer interest, and this will bring in a lot of transparency and accountability and clarity in the way that advertisements are to be published. And in case there is any false narrative or exaggeration or misleading advertisement, the same can be brought before the authority and ultimately they can be penalized as well. So this will ultimately reduce the misleading advertisements over a period of time, and in case there is a celebrity who has not taken due diligence with respect to that advertisement, he can also be penalized as well. But what are the concerns? There are many celebrity management companies which are not happy with the new guidelines. In case there are any issues, that particular company which has actually taken this person as the brand ambassador, so the company has to suffer and not the celebrity, say some of the celebrity management companies. It is this that we have to understand with respect to this article. Now let's look into the next article. This article says mix and match dose. The article here is speaking about COVID-19 vaccine. Why are we discussing this? That is because if you look into multiple states in India like Maharashtra, Kerala and prominent cities like Bengaluru and Mumbai, what we are seeing is significant increase in the COVID-19 cases. So this article here is primarily speaking about the precautionary dosage, the third dosage of COVID-19 vaccine that should be given to an individual. So whether this should be homologous or or heterologous is what is this article all about. When we speak about the recent spike, what exactly is happening? There is a particular situation where a person is infected repeatedly. There are repeat infections. What are these repeat infections? Let's say a person is already infected by COVID-19 virus once. The second time he gets infected, the third time he gets infected. This is what is called as repeat infections. In spite of the natural immunity that person has, this person is getting infected every now and then is what is called as repeat infections. Then we have something called as the breakthrough infections. What is this breakthrough infection? Let's say there is an individual who's got the first dose of vaccine, and after a considerable period of time he's also got a second dose of vaccine as well. In spite of getting two doses of vaccine, if the virus is able to break and ultimately infect that person who's already got vaccinated, that is called as breakthrough infections. So this article currently goes on to say that there have been repeated infections, there have also been breakthrough infections as well. So it is in this particular backdrop the article goes on to speak about two important types. One happens to be homologous, the other is the heterologous. What is this homologous? Let's say for example there is a particular person who is given one of the vaccines. Let's say we have Covishield, we also have Covaxin as well. So a person is given Covishield for the first time, for the second time. So if he has to be given for the third time as a precautionary dosage, the same vaccine is given to that person, which is called as homologous. So for the first time Covishield is given, second time Covishield is given, third time as well, this person would be given or administered only Covishield. If he is given Covaxin for the first time, second time he would be given Covaxin, and third time as well he would be given Covaxin. So homologous basically means that the same vaccine is administered to that particular person whose primary dose happens to be Covishield or Covaxin. Then we have something called as heterologous. What is heterologous? Let's say for example there is a person who is administered with Covishield for the first time, second time he is administered with Covishield, but third time he is given Covaxin or any other type of vaccine. So it is not just one single vaccine, but there are different vaccines which are administered to that person, which is called as heterologous vaccine. So a person can be given homologous or heterologous vaccine. What is the current vaccine strategy for the government of India? If we are speaking about the senior citizens or the frontline workers or the healthcare workers, the government would be providing them third precautionary dosage free of cost from the government side. However, if they do not fall into any of these brackets, then other eligible people would be able to take the third dosage at the private sector for a particular price. So the person who receives the third dose will have to pay for it. But when it comes to the senior citizens and those with or without comorbidities, frontline workers and the healthcare workers, the government would be providing them the precautionary dosage free of cost. But if it is any other individual, he can go to the private sector and he would be able to receive the dose for a particular price. So this article currently goes on to say the advantages and speaks about the advantages of heterologous vaccination. When we speak about heterologous vaccination, it means a different types of vaccine is given to that particular person. So what are the advantages? There is a growing body of scientific evidence to prove that when heterologous doses are used as booster shots, the immune response is much more efficient. So the first advantage is the response is much better. Heterologous prime boost strategies may offer immunologic advantages to extend the breadth and longevity of protection provided by the currently available vaccines. So it increases the longevity, which means if Covishield is able to provide, let's say 3 months of immunity or 6 months of immunity or 1 year of immunity, if heterologous another vaccine is given, this may also increase to about 2 years. So the longevity will increase is the second advantage. The heterologous boost immunization strategy provides an immune response that may prove to be beneficial for durable prevention or control of the COVID-19. Added to it, there are other set of advantages as well. One is in terms of logistics. How will it help the logistics? Let's say for example, there is a particular remote village or a place which is remote in nature. There are people who are given Covishield in that particular area. But as of now, we do not have the Covishield. What we currently have is Covaxin. So these people may not be given the third dose, and ultimately they may suffer as well. So instead of giving Covishield, if we are able to provide what is called as another vaccine, it can be Covaxin or any other vaccine. In that case, they are protected with this precautionary dosage. So we need not have to wait for that particular vaccine. And if there is a particular city close by, it would also be able to deliver another vaccine as well, thereby taking the health precautionary note to these people as well. Added to it, when we speak about these vaccines, there are a number of vaccines that have come off late. If we are sticking only to the Covishield and to the Covaxin, we may have to wait for the manufacturers to give us a prescribed delivery of all these vaccines. But if we also give them other vaccines as well, there are more in the market right now. This would be able to take care of the people in that particular locality. So going forward, the government may think of changing the strategy from homologous to heterogeneous, and all those people who are eligible for the vaccine should be able to pay for it and ultimately get the third dose. And in fact, since studies are also proving that it may increase the longevity and also the efficiency, the government should reconsider its decision, is what is this article all about. Now let's look into the next article. This article here is speaking about Mandakini River, which is important from the preliminary examination point of view. The Mandakini River happens to be a tributary of Alaknanda River, where in the state of Uttarakhand. The river flows for approximately 81 kilometers between Rudraprayag and Sonprayag areas and ultimately emerges from the Chorabari Glacier in Kedarnath. At the end of its course, it drains into Alaknanda River. These are some of the important factors from the preliminary examination point of view that you have to remember. Now let's look into the mains practice questions. Discuss the concerns voiced by the Securities and Exchange Board of India over regulation of cryptos. Next question. Should celebrities be held accountable for the brands they endorse? Critically examine. Please write all your answers on the comment section, peer review, and do give positive feedback to your friends' answers. So this is it for today. Thank you for watching. All the best.